everything was perfect, until the morning the announcement disappeared. One moment, it was everywhere, on screens, in headlines, across every social platform. Smiling photos, carefully chosen words, a promise of forever sealed in elegance and celebration. And then it was gone. No explanation, no statement, no warning, just silence. The engagement between Isabella Laurent and Alexander Hale was supposed to be the event of the year. Two powerful families, two carefully built legacies, and what looked like a love story that had finally aligned with expectation. From the outside, it made perfect sense. They had known each other for years, attended the same events, moved in the same circles. Their connection, while quiet, had always been there, subtle, controlled, appropriate, exactly the kind of relationship people admired. But admiration doesn't always mean truth, because behind the polished photos and public appearances, something wasn't right. And the first sign came the night before it all ended. The engagement party was everything it was supposed to be. Elegant, exclusive, perfectly orchestrated down to the smallest detail. Soft music filled the air, glasses clinked in celebration, and every guest knew they were witnessing something significant. Isabella looked flawless. A soft smile, poised posture, every movement measured and graceful. If anyone noticed the way her eyes didn't quite match her smile, they didn't say it. Alexander stood beside her, composed as always, confident, controlled, the kind of man who never let anything slip, not in public, not in private. Together, they looked unshakable. But perfection like that is usually hiding something. As the night went on, something shifted, small at first. A glance that lasted too long, a conversation that ended too quickly, a tension that didn't belong in a room filled with celebration. And then Isabella disappeared, not dramatically, not in a way that would cause a scene, just quietly, slipping away from the crowd as if she needed a moment to breathe. At least that's what people assumed. Minutes passed, then more. Someone noticed. Has anyone seen Isabella? At first, it didn't raise alarm. She could have stepped outside, taken a call, needed space. But then Alexander was seen searching. And that's when it became real, because Alexander Hale didn't lose control, ever. But that night, he did. Staff were quietly instructed to check every room, the gardens, the private lounge, even areas guests weren't allowed to access. No sign of her. Her phone left behind. Her bay still in the dressing room. It was as if she had stepped out and vanished. The music continued, but the mood had changed. Whispers began to spread. Something wasn't right. And then she returned, just as suddenly as she had disappeared, but something about her was different. Her expression was calm, too calm. Not the kind of calm you expect from someone who just caused quiet panic at her own engagement party. The kind of calm that comes after a decision has already been made. Alexander approached her immediately. Concern, confusion, something deeper beneath the surface. They spoke. No one could hear what was said, but everyone could see it. The shift, the moment everything changed, because whatever Isabella said, it broke something. Alexander's expression hardened, his posture stiffened, and for the first time that night, He looked unsure. She didn't stay long after that. No dramatic exit, no explanation, just a quiet goodbye to no one in particular. And then she left. The next morning, the announcement was gone. Every post, every article, every trace of their engagement had been erased as if it had never existed. Calls were made, questions were asked, but no answers came. Alexander's family declined to comment. Isabella's family, completely unreachable, and Isabella herself disappeared. No public appearances, no statements, nothing. Just silence. But silence doesn't stop people from talking. Theories started almost immediately. Some said it was pressure, that Isabella couldn't handle the weight of what the engagement meant, that the expectations became too much, too fast. Others believed it was something deeper, something personal, because people who had been close to her began to hint at things, quietly, carefully. They spoke about a side of Isabella the public never saw, a version of her that wasn't always composed, that questioned things, that didn't always agree with the path laid out for her. And then there was one detail that refused to go away. Someone claimed they saw Isabella that night, not alone, but with someone else, not a guest, not part of the event, someone who wasn't supposed to be there. The description was vague, unclear, but consistent enough to raise questions. Who was he? And why was she with him on the night of her engagement? The more people looked into it, the stranger it became. Security footage from that section of the venue, unavailable. Staff who were working that area, suddenly unreachable. It was as if someone had gone through great effort to make sure nothing could be confirmed. But one thing became clear. Isabella didn't just leave the party for no reason. She left because something or someone changed everything. And once she came back, she had already made her choice. Weeks passed. Still no answers. The story slowly faded from headlines, but not from memory. Because things like that don't just disappear. Not completely. And then something unexpected happened. A photo surfaced, blurry, taken from a distance, but unmistakable. It was Isabella, standing somewhere unfamiliar. No cameras, no crowd, no pressure, and beside her was a man no one recognized. They weren't touching, not openly, but they didn't need to, because the way she looked at him said everything. It wasn't forced, it wasn't controlled, it was real. And maybe that was the problem all along, because sometimes the life people expect you to live isn't the life you actually want. Maybe Isabella realized that too late. Or maybe she realized it just in time. The engagement that was supposed to unite two powerful families ended overnight, without explanation, without closure, without a single confirmed reason. But sometimes the truth isn't in what people say. It's in what they choose not to. And Isabella, she chose silence, which leaves only one question. What did she see that night that made her walk away from everything? Because whatever it was powerful enough to erase a future that once looked absolutely perfect.